Welcome to the June 11th Board of Education meeting. Welcome, everyone. We can call the meeting to order at 7:04. And would you please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Okay, we have Kate Beaupellant, Megan Wicks, Kathy Grant, Suzanne Miller, Rachel Ricard. Absent is Arika Kalwara and Valerie Musciano. Also present is Scott Fetter, Amy Cefaletto, and Tom O'Connor, our food service director. And myself. And you.
Okay, great. We'll kick off with our Board of Education mission statement. Voluntown Board of Education's mission is to provide our students with skills essential to reach their highest potential in a safe environment for learning as they aspire to become responsible, respectful, and civic-minded members of society. We commit to help educate, challenge, and inspire each child to excel as lifelong learners who can adapt constructively in an ever-changing, multicultural, and technological world. So our agenda looks pretty brief, which we're excited about here today. Starting kicking off our summer season, we've had a very busy school year and lots to discuss and celebrate and review, but at the same time, it's nice to see some things to look for. Thank you for joining us, Tom. We have a special guest to review our food service update. But first we will go through our consent agenda. Everyone's had a chance to look at that.
I have one question.
Okay, sure.
For the function object report, it was the percent spent, and at the town meeting had mentioned 90%. I was just wondering if it could be salary and
Yeah, not they, and then encumber all of the monies on the stuff. Once you encumber all of the monies, it comes to 97%. So it could be 98%. We're actually less left over than before. So we're playing with it, and we'll talk about why. But what we want to do is we want to get this function object report to include encumbered balances.
Yes.
Because it doesn't do me any good to look at the available balance and include currencies. So we want to change this report. It's gotta be pulled out. So I'm not sure why that continues to be an issue. But you can see like on some of them, we need to move one function, right? So you're looking at net balance, special transportation. The reason for something like that is because we have a student that would not be transported through the budget year that is that, ultimately the 87.7%. I think if you land at the end of the, because this was a question at the town meeting, if you land your budget around 2 to 3%, that's what I would expect the budget to land at. 2 to 3% is very, very good. But if you start landing at 5, 6, 7%, that's a lot of leftover money. There could be reasons, but if there's no outstanding, extraordinary reason why, then that would be a concern. Right? If all of a sudden there's 6% left at 75,000%, that's $450,000. Why is there $450,000 after costs? That would be a concern. Unless it's a passion. You're planning on X. That's never happened. At this point, we have no really outstanding issues, so I think we'll go around at 2%.
Questions? Yeah. Any other items on the consent agenda?
I just wanted to make a mention of housekeeping item on the enrollment report. I think there's an extra line in here that says 215. I'm assuming that it's maybe from the top I think that's our next school, and maybe something got inserted, or I don't know if it's being there at all.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it would go online, the top part, but
It's
every year it's
adding,
oh, maybe
it's
it's
adding numbers that
2023.
don't exist, so it's adding,
Mm-hmm.
let's see what it's adding. Trying to see what it's adding. So I'm not seeing a number that exists.
Well, I noticed that you don't have a 6/2023, so I was wondering if it was maybe that, but then, I don't know, maybe that's what I'm thinking, is maybe something's got copy of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was looking at it.
I just know that people look at this as part of the budget and stuff, so I just want to call it out.
Yeah, that's just a whole extra line for no reason.
I'll point it out, John.
But you also wanna take a look at like the 2023 year and see if that's hidden.
Look at the what?
If you look at the enrollment report
Oh,
at the top,
yeah.
yeah, and where it's hidden or
Got it,
something.
right.
Oh, it looks like that's very
Yeah.
possible. Although the numbers still would be.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense when it goes down and back up here. Maybe that.
Alright, we'll look at this report. Dee Dee just, double check for me.
It's probably elementary.
Okay, with that, if we have a motion to approve with those edits and comments. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes to approve the consent agenda as amended and discussed. Okay. For the administrative reports, we will begin with our guest, or our, it's not guests, we're not having guests, it's a special meeting, so. Our agenda item guest, Tom Backer. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
And we have some new board members, so you can just give a high level introduction to everyone again, just as in your primary,
Okay,
what do you support?
so, Tom O'Connor, I've been with Voluntown since 2008. Consulting, sort of director type responsibility over the program, mostly guidance and compliance, whether it's USDA or state department of ed, but staff training, work with staff teams, huge part of our gains, but basically comprehensive overview and review and monitoring of the lunch program. So, this year, the biggest change would be that as we're trending less enrollment, New England is just one food employee. We had 1.5, and now we managed this year probably 1. Some additional support from other departments, but for the most part, reduction in labor justified the lack of students that we've had over the years. So Corinne Coughlin's been in that role for a few years now, and she's doing great. We do have a local person who does do some sub work. Amy certainly jumps in, and I'll jump in too. So we're managing just a bigger staff pool this year, more than ever, but justified and stuff. So we wanted to talk about meal prices for next year. Maybe some of you heard legislation was signed by the governor that breakfast could be free. But we have, he signed legislation, but we take our word from the state of Department of Ed when we can release that or talk about that. So that, we're anticipating that could be true, going back to COVID type times when everybody universally would eat for free. And also in that legislation, the families won't accrue the cost of the reduced breakfast or lunch. So that 40 cents now will be picked up by the state. So in this model, we would have universal free breakfast for all and just paid lunch for those who qualify for just paid. So
So it's paid or free?
paid or free.
There's no reduced.
There's no more reduced, which should be okay. It would make total sense a long time ago. But yes,
Does it help you administrative, I would assume?
It does. It's just such a weird little window. You know, 30 cents, 40 cents, it's, if you're in theory chasing that debt, when you're spending dollars to chase pennies in a sense.
Yeah.
And most of those families, pretty much, if you're qualifying for reduced, you're in a tight spot. So it just seems like, and when you look at the income guidelines, it's such a small window to qualify for reduced. It's only a couple $1,000s from free to pay. So that window really is why there's so few reduced kids. But so we do still have to set a breakfast price, even though we're anticipating it to be free. Currently we're at $2.50, and I would recommend that we stay at $2.50. If this continues and we go universal free, I know a lot of the states around us are universally free, all meals. And that's the model that the state would like to go to, and I do believe we're trending that way. But I think you still need to establish that price bracket. So I'm gonna recommend at this point we stay at $2.50. If this continues though, we may look to increase that price, even if it stays free, so that when, in theory, if we ever do return, it's not such a huge hit for families to acknowledge what the price would be, even though they never pay it. So that would be my recommendation for breakfast. If I could share a document, but I apologize, I'm one short. So when we talk about lunches, we get our guidance from the State Department of Ed, who has the USDA mandated guidelines for it. So what that form you're getting is the last 4 years of it's a paid lunch equity recommendation from what we should charge for lunch. So when COVID hit, everybody was free, we encumbered quite a bit of money. We could ignore the paid lunch equity because it really came down to if you had excess funds, you could get a waiver to not increase your prices. So as the COVID money went away, we now have to use this paid lunch equity tool. And so in theory, if you use the tool and you're higher than what they recommend, then in theory, the Board of Ed's supposed to subsidize the lunch program that difference, okay? But when you're at a deficit anyway, the board does finance it anyhow, honestly, but we did increase last year to $3.90, right? But if you look year over year, it's going up. I think the first year, like in 23, 24, we went from $3.56 recommended to $3.85, 29 cents. And then the next year it's 16, and this year it's a recommended 15. So prior to COVID, with inflation and labor costs, typically the increases were 6 to 9 cents a year. Now you're seeing these huge drastic jumps. What they're telling you here though, if you just raise the price 10 cents, you don't have to stay with the equity tool, but you have to show that, and that's the last page, if you look at it, it'll tell you that SFAs, school food authorities, are not required to raise the paid price lunch by more than 10 cents per year. So here's the point where I would recommend we go to $4, so we don't go to $4.16, because we're compliant by increasing, but we're not at what they tell us to do. So in theory, every year, if this stays in effect, if these jumps continue to go, you could increase just 10 cents and be compliant. And that's where I'm kind of like, would like a little input, what you think. Because the higher the lunch prices go for paid, the less possible customers you may have, right? People are like, man, lunch is just getting more inexpensive. So the balance of this whole thing is the federal reimbursement rate typically mirrors this number. So we're getting this amount of money back from free and reduce less the state money for that. So at this point, it's a little bit complicated, but using this tool in the guidance they're saying, I'm recommending we go from $3.90 to $4 for the paid lunch for next year.
If I understand what you said, I'm sorry, we're gonna get for free and for everybody's, like all the people that are free, we're gonna get $4.16 back.
We get actually a little bit more than that, a little bit more, but yes, typically the reimbursement rates are at least that.
Yeah, and
do
we're
get
gonna charge for the people who are paid.
Correct.
And does the government give us anything back on those?
They do give you, I couldn't tell you that, it's around 40-something cents.
Okay,
And it depends, we get HFC money, which is additional 10 cents for being healthy school compliant, which we are. We also get a commodity allowance, which in theory is a preloaded debit card that allows you to buy government US commodities a year in advance. So those purchases, I made for the district back in February. So you do get some money to help in theory offset your food costs by using your allowances to purchase USDA foods.
I'm really concerned that parents are struggling as it is, and
Without
I
doubt.
really feel for people, that, to me, that's a lot for a school lunch. Especially where people are struggling right now.
I agree with you, people are struggling. I respectfully think $4 is, when you consider what labor is now, you know, minimum wage is 16 something now, you know. So we've seen the increase in our staff salary dollars an hour. And then sadly, when we all do go to the grocery store, to offer 5 components at each meal, fresh milk, fresh fruits a lot of times, or fruit, fresh vegetables, proteins and grains. For this time, it's a pretty good deal in my opinion.
so do you think 4 will give us a number that where the board will not be in the hole with food service at the end of the year?
A big factor is enrollment, right, customers. The other thing is when we do purchase commodities, it's in good faith that we'll get an allowance and we know what we need to offer each meal. So we offer 5 components, of which the students have to take a fruit and vegetable. So I do always try to purchase as many fruits and vegetables, knowing that I have to do that in a reimbursable meal. But if something for whatever reason isn't available because it's forecasted out, and a good example is they're already telling you broccoli won't be available. Now, we did spend a little money on broccoli, we'll lose that. So assuming the agricultural market stays stable, it will help us. The thing that's really gonna help us is this universal free breakfast, because the revenues we're gonna get from those additional breakfasts, in theory, will help.
When we had free before, how much did it increase our breakfast, do you remember about?
We were really aggressive and we were able, by letter of the law, we could send breakfasts home, so we were sending breakfasts home. And that really helped out.
Guys, remember that? Crazy.
We all got breakfast, we all got milk. Everybody got milk and juice. Maybe the bottom backpack, but we got it.
I would say, so there's some schools that are CEP, which are community eligible, they all eat free. Typically, those schools see about 60% of the students take breakfast. So I would say, for us, that would be,
I think more kids will take it if it's free because,
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not paying $2.50 for my kid to go get breakfast if you're full pay.
Yeah.
But-
If they miss the truck.
If they're just right, I mean, I think more full pay kids would take breakfast.
Especially at first period with breakfast period.
so I would anticipate, increased sales, we're probably around 15% to realistically 60%.
Which would offset maybe some of our increase of the pay for. We know I mean, obviously we can't bank on it, that they're gonna do it, but it sounds pretty promising. Even if they don't, I think I feel better not.
What are the other districts that use it? Are they at $4?
By the way,
Are they at $4?
Bridgeville's been at 4, Preston is at 375. I'll recommend the same, but at this point I agree, families are struggling. If we continue to increase, because honestly, in the grand scheme of things, the 10 cents isn't gonna make or break us, it gives us compliance or less.
I think the question asked, just for clarity, with the free breakfast, let's assume yes.
Yep.
That will have an increase in revenue for the district.
Yep.
As Kate said, to offset the 10 cent differential that we don't do. So in the end, I would think the increase in breakfast usually should offset not raising the 10 cents.
It could, the only issue is when we do a pre-administrative review, which we're due for, I think this year or next, right, we're about on that site.
Probably next.
They, once they're, in district, they'll pretty much tell you.
So if they wanna tell us,
Right.
so they can tell us.
Yeah.
And then if I'm on board, I say if the state wants to charge everybody, we will pay more for food. Let them vote for those people the next time there's a vote.
Yeah, I was hoping you guys would give me what, the guidance of what you want to do, and I can give you my recommendation, I was hoping you, give me that, for sure. But it is good for those families that are struggling with that university, those big families will get breakfast, but then, how's it gonna play out now if your kid does not a big eater and they eat breakfast, and then they just, don't buy lunch, you know what I mean? Or if you're a big family, you free, like, load up a breakfast and package snacks, so that's where it's gonna be, like, a little bit of
But not Tom, with all those things, it's 10 cents.
Right.
Like a game of eggs, 10 cents for not a lot of kids. And
So you could see reduction in participation.
Yeah, that was one of my questions was, if it ends up the 40 cents for the reduced lunch goes away, do you have any idea of the number of students that are eligible for the reduced lunch that are not currently taking it, that will potentially likely take it once that 40 cents goes away? Will that also offset some of that? Right, like you, from 20,
We have such a small reduced population, I mean, it's a very small percentage for us. And I would say probably 90%.
I would suggest, I'll make a recommendation, recommend you leave it at 390. Let's see what happens, and if there's some government agency that wants to tell all Voluntown families you will pay more for lunch, let them tell the families that. We'll make sure to make it very clear who's holding that. But you're not gonna gain enough money. That's the sentiment.
Especially with this offset, you know.
Are there any other implications for that review if they put you on corrective action?
You would really have to be doing something blatantly illegal to have physical action. There is, it could be an application which processes kid is not eligible for free meals and we calculate it wrong, right? And that they eat 2 meals a day, right? It could be, say, 3 and 2, so $5 a day, $25 a week,
Or if we submit 100% of our kids are having free breakfast,
Right.
that is only 20% of our kids. If you agree to something,
So if you did that, there's a window like, okay, it was a good faith error, it was $500, fix it, take a training course, sign off that you did it, promise not to do it again. Sort of it. In all my years of doing this, I've never seen a district fiscally have to deal with that.
Well, if we go down to me, I don't know if they go down, but when you vote, only BOE meeting, that everybody has to.
There's still some structure to it, because everybody's eligible for just one meal, right? So the beauty of universal free is one, you're not chasing money.
Yeah.
It's sort of an expectation everybody should get it. There's no debt accrued, but then you don't need the PIN numbers. Then you can focus on food and service and not PIN numbers and balances and notifications home because you owe and an application for like administratively it's so much better to see the university and it's great better for the students.
So this is happening in a big case, the free breakfast.
No, so the pre-K is separate.
I agree with you, the 10 cents isn't going to be, number of reimbursement awards we started here.
And I think collectively every year gone, it was, I think we maintained maybe 3-4 years ago at a level.
And we went up like 30 cents.
Yeah, we've gone up,
Yeah.
tremendously, and we have gotten feedback from
Yeah.
the families that it is, just kind of a shell shock, and every year they're doing it, and so I just feel more comfortable that we meet on this and see where it goes.
So we have to put, do we?
Yep.
If we can't have a motion, if we have a special group, can we put it on the next agenda?
You can do a motion. He was on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, yeah.
Additional topics.
Not a topic, so we have a motion.
Yeah.
So we'll make a motion to, keep the,
It's in there.
yeah, breakfast at 2:50 and lunch at 3:90. We confirm it's 3:90?
Do we need to make a motion or have you meeting?
I think
Do
officially.
we make a motion to have that meeting?
For this year, this future year.
Okay.
It has to be a motion.
Just so that we have a record that we reviewed it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Heard, motion passes. All right, any other fun news, Tom?
I have one more question,
Yes.
Tom. Well, if our breakfast picks up.
Yeah.
Will we need a second person for like an
No.
hour or two there in the
No.
morning? No?
Yeah, no, we should be pretty set with that.
Okay.
A lot of the things are,
Pre-done.
it's three components, right? Of fruit, of milk, and grain item, 2 grain item. The milk is self-contained, the fruit typically is in a prepackaged cup. So really the amount, if we did anything, a 2 grain item, Corinne would more than be able to handle it. We'll definitely make adjustments if we need to, but I'm pretty confident that she can do it. No additional labor.
We did have some teachers that had the whole class participating. Mr. C always had his full class doing breakfast. But he, get breakfast himself and stuff with them at the beginning of the day.
Thanks for sharing this. Is there any, looking forward for the year, is there any other changes kind of from a regulation standpoint on the food quality or anything we need to be aware of?
So we do we have to certify our menus every year.
Right.
We continue to see reductions in sodium and sugars. That's year. It's a 5-phase rollout over multiple years. But nothing major. I mean, we just continue. So basically, the guidelines are set for grams of sugar or salt, whatever, and then the manufacturers then sort of on a lot of those items on the hook to be compliant for those items. So it all sort of falls in place, but just we continue to lower the sugars and the salts in our diets here.
Anything locally sourced?
We do local stuff here. There's a grant, and we did a little bit of it last year. The grant was it was like a 3-year pilot. It started 3 years ago, and this is the first year. So basically, it was to identify locally, to be able to source local. 100% of reimbursement 3 years ago, and then last year went to 50% reimbursed from the farmer, and now, in theory, we spent 2 years developing a relationship, and then in good faith, then if we could afford those items, then year 3, you're buying at the street level. So the hard part for us here in New England is most of the stuff is available and when we're not in school, so we do a relationship with an orchard and a local source meat, which is Campbell's just over the line in Griswold, and we did utilize some of those things. So we're hoping for some more grant funded stuff because, as good as those products are, it's hard to justify $10 a pound for ground beef when you can get it cheaper for what we're doing. So
Is Wade's Dairy considered local?
Wade's is not. The only local one is Mountain Dairy in Mansfield. Wade's is not local, but it could be. It's a cooperative, right? So they buy milk from everybody, but since they can't quite prove where all the milk comes from, it's not quite considered local.
Any other questions for Tom? Well, thank you for your time
Thank you.
and
Good to see
Spend
you
it
guys
this
and
evening.
nice to meet the new ones, so
Yeah.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Other administrative reports, we can move on to the principal report. Mrs. Floro.
I'm going to share something, but I'll talk about my principal report also.
Yeah.
Is it on the, oh, there you go.
Does it come out?
I don't want to do that yet.
It's okay, you can just talk.
Alright, so June is definitely where we're starting to wind down. We had field day yesterday, and then today was awards day. We had a very full house for awards day, lots of great things happening for students, our PTO, our trimester assembly, all those types of things. Presidential awards, PTO awards, all get given today. We have been working on just our end of the year tasks, so we've been collecting a lot of data, we've helped data teams, so all those things happening while all this other stuff is happening simultaneously. We've sent 8th grade on their 2 trips, so YSB, very thankful for them, every year they sponsor the bowling trip, so they sponsor that, and then they went to Urban Air in Warwick today as their end of the year, so that was a lot of fun for them. And what's nice about Urban Air is that you're the only school, so we booked, they had the facilities, so they could do all the stuff, they don't have to wait. So that was good, and tomorrow they'll practice for graduation. So graduation Monday night, 6 o'clock, rain or shine. So if it doesn't rain, but the par for the course around here. I think that's it for my report, but I do wanna just talk briefly and share something with you for programming for next year, so that way, you can see kind of the changes that we're making based on, staffing, so I'm gonna, oh, it's already there. Okay.
Anything that can be made any bigger?
Let's see. All right, let me try a little smaller. 115,
That's good.
somewhat.
So we've been talking a lot about, and obviously, as all of you know, and anybody who watches this, that we have a combination of single grades and double grades, not double grades, homerooms. So let's go by homerooms. So we have single homerooms and double homerooms. And part of configuring yearly is who is moving where and what's happening with those singletons as they move through. We know that singles tend to struggle with developing relationships outside of their tiny little cohort. So when you have a lot of kids that you can mix with, even if they're in the other homeroom, you can play at recess together, you can do lots of things together. When you are one group of 12 and you have nobody else in your same peer group, that makes it a struggle. So 2 years ago, we ended up combining our 5th and 6th grade specials and our 7th and 8th grade specials. So we pull them out of their homerooms and we multi-age them in their specials groups. Those are the easiest places for us to start really mixing them. So we've done that now, I believe this is our 2nd year or 3rd year, and we found that this has just brought them out of their small cohort into other areas. Following year we mix them up again, and we've really done that as they've entered into middle school. One of the things this year was looking at our current 4th grade class, who is a single, and a very small single, so not even a single that's 17, a single that's closer to like 12, 13. So how do you get those kids to feel like they're part of another group, because they do travel alone a lot of the time. So our current model for next year for grade 5 would be a single classroom in grade 5. So that means one teacher moves to where the next need is, one teacher stays and teaches all subjects all day. With, we have declining enrollment, group peer size, the instructional flexibility, who's teaching what, that limits us also. We talked with the team a lot about students, spending the same, as they move into middle school, spending all day with the same teacher, having that flexibility of being taught by someone else. And there's just fewer opportunities for instructional groupings and collaboration between team members when you're a single. So the proposed model of what we are anticipating is going to happen next year is we will take our 5th grade class and place them back into our elementary wing. So there's a couple reasons why this is preferred. What will happen is our 5th grade students will move back to elementary. They will share 2 4th grade teachers also. So they will rotate between 2 4th grade teachers and a 5th grade teacher. So one person will teach ELA, one will teach math, one will teach science, and then they'll teach their own other content areas outside of that. Because they're all certified elementary teachers, so they can teach those things. It's a bit more departmentalized, gives them variety throughout the day, they're traveling, they're moving to other teachers, they're getting the exposure of being, a little bit more out of their room at that age. And then they're getting to interact with that other peer group, albeit 4th graders, but very normal and natural age-wise together. There are a lot of benefits for that. Just, we'll be able to address the impact of the declining enrollment amongst grade levels. If kids leave from that grouping, you could be down to 11. So you want them to be able to have that experience, giving them the engagement in the day, the collaboration we talked about, being able to multi-age some of the enrichment and intervention between them, so we share that same period at the end of the day. That makes it much more flexible than for that team to come together with their kids and be able to enrich and intervene. And then we're preparing them for middle school expectations. We talked about benefits for instructions, focus on the content areas, those specific teachers, consistency in curriculum and expectations, collaboration, and targeted support for them. So, looking at this, we always look at which teachers we feel are the most strategic to move, who's been where, what have they taught. Unfortunately, in a building like this, if you're departmentalized and you've taught math for 20 years or you've taught ELA for 20 years, it's hard to go to the other subject. It takes you a little bit of time to go back to that because things change. So we're looking at moving one of our teachers down to the elementary wing. We'll be moving one of our special education classroom to a corner classroom in that same wing. So that way then they're rotating near each other. It takes our 5th graders out of the middle school, takes them out of the middle school bathroom. So that's a big one for me. And out of the middle school bathroom into the elementary wing. They're still young. We still want to move forward with all the same opportunities, right? They get to do sports, they get to do all those things that we still have in our handbook that they can participate in. We let them do the news, we let them do all those little dabbles of things, but they're still young. And putting them back into that area, we're hopeful that that's a better model for them, especially then. So projecting out, so there's a single in 5 next year, a double in 4th per se, a single in 3, a double in 2. So you're looking at not just this isn't a 1-year commitment. So we're looking at, up to 3 years of this same type of rotation, just depending on the ebb and flow of enrollment. So I don't like to do things for 1 year, move somebody and get it back and all this stuff, but this makes sense to do this, and those teachers just keep flip-flopping those singles as they're coming through, in those pieces. Does anybody have any questions about that?
My question was gonna be if you got to a point where you had 2 classrooms for each grade, what your thoughts are on that?
Right, so I would say we would have to look at enrollment, class size, right? So is that one, maybe they're in 2, but there's 18. They could be a 1, you could still do the same model. You could, Scott and I talked a lot about multi-age, so there's the opportunity for some multi-age stuff for those kids to then be in classrooms where, you might be on an AB year for science, right? Because it doesn't really matter when you're teaching it, right? So you could do that and multi-age them together. So you can, do a lot of those types of things. I think we have to see once some of these younger grades, what's the impact of some of the smaller grades and how they're coming up, amount wise, looking at.
So this model, it would still be like the fifth would just be in their same math class, just with that one teacher. It's not gonna be multi-age in, like a.
Not for
mix of
math and
fourth
science
third.
or ELA,
No, they're all, they just go to their own.
because that is something that takes time to then filter out and do, and then you're looking at, you would be rewriting curriculum, right? So you're
Right, because then
rewriting.
you have like a fourth grader that can do fifth grade math, then once they get to fifth grade.
Right, what are you doing, like, so you're really trying that, so that takes time and process. This is something that we can do and stay in our age, grade level groups and.
They're still Eureka fifth, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that also makes it more natural, so once they go to six, they use the other program, so that makes it better also, because they're still in the same program.
Now, will they special with that fourth grade or special with the fifth grade?
They actually special with 5, 6, so
Five, six.
they'll get the benefit of specials with 5, 6, a group cohort with 4. And that's just because of those big kid things like band, art club, those types of things that kids like, so 5, 6 is its own little bit, and 7, 8 is a little band. So they'll still do those portions, together.
That's great, it's more exposure to other.
It's just more
I think
exposure.
that's great, I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
And then the fifth grade, or the now sixth grade isn't like
So
lacking
sorry.
either, like
Right,
they have the
right.
exposure with that.
Right. So, because of that type of snowball, right, so we need to, figure out, okay, who's going where. So remember, second grade this year is a 1, needs to be a 2. So that means we're moving somebody to 2, and then that means now 3 has nobody. So then we're taking that other fifth grade teacher, going back to 3. So you try to, it's like a chess game of moving pieces where they best fit.
But to your point that, like, professionally, that's generally a good thing because it keeps them, is that
It keeps
your
people,
opinion,
yeah.
like,
And
that's
so we're a school that
teaching different things?
doesn't really move people a lot. Now, you go to other schools, you could be moving every year. Here, we don't tend to move a lot. And, if you've only taught one subject, I only taught reading for how many years in first grade? I didn't ever really teach math until, that's probably where my deficit comes from. So, but those are the things as a teacher or a younger teacher, you might want that experience teaching other things and not just be pigeonholed to one thing. So hopefully it works out, for them. It's hard to move every year, but
I think it's exciting.
it's exciting to get, people get like reinvigorated when
Yes.
they move and meet team members, so. So those are the pieces for fifth grade, so with that snowball effect, what'll end up happening, so here's just some other programming things, that we can just talk about. We are looking at our special education models and really honing in on our resource room support in creating, as our younger students come up who might need more self-contained programming, really developing more of a self-contained model for some of our students who struggle in the mainstream classroom and need specialized instruction in that smaller setting more time of the day. So those pieces, we're looking at that. For grades 6 through 8, so what will end up happening is, and I did break this news to Mr. C and Mr. Callio, Mr. C is actually going to move his classroom down where Mrs. Roderick's classroom was. So we're gonna put 6th grade there, and those 2 homerooms will be together. So Mr. C and Mrs. Ricciuti right now would be together right there. 6th grade can stay there before they get to that double door and move on into 7, 8, and then we can spread them out a little bit. So right now, we're kind of all in one. So we're gonna spread out. So 6 has their little space, 7, 8 has their space down there. Mr. C has to move again, but I told him to leave all Mrs. Valancourt's old stuff. You never know, he might be back there, but, so he'll still be teaching math, just in a different classroom. And so what we'll do is we'll continue to, this year we started mixing homerooms, which ended up being a logistical power school nightmare for us, but it works out for kids, mixing homerooms and mixing those specials. So because our current 7th grade is a single, again, they've only traveled with themselves, getting them exposure into other kids. We'll do the same thing next year. And what we'll do is we will look at our class compositions and determine, so we have a 5-period day and I have an opportunity for 5 classes. right? So I have a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th. So we're going to determine which of those classes need to be into 2, which of those classes can be into 1. So we look at behaviors, we look at needs, we look at time of day when best support is happening. So the 6th grade, coming into 6th grade might be a 1 or it might be a 2. They're small enough where those things can happen. Same for the 7th grade, it could be a 1, it could be a 2, and we're gonna just determine what that's gonna look like based on our schedule needs, being able to fulfill that, and same for 7th. So we'll, do those things collectively in the building and be able to figure out how that works and what that looks like. Preschool, so we've talked a lot about preschool. Preschool will be 1 class, it'll be 8:50 to 12:05. We will serve snack to preschoolers. And then as for staffing, once they leave, so we take prep and we take lunch for teachers, and then parents get lunch and break, then they'll be reassigned. So then they'll be reassigned to another part of the building that has a need to be filled. So strategically planning for that. And then we're just moving classrooms. So we do have a handful of classrooms that are actually empty. So we have a little bit more space than we like, because you want your building to be full in that. But we do have a couple classrooms that'll be empty, and then just moving people, which makes the most sense, at least for 2 years. I hate to move somebody and then have them move again. It doesn't make sense, but, so we'll do those pieces too. We're looking at moving our technology department, so they're condensed a little bit more into 2 separate spaces, and putting them into 1 space. And then we are looking at also, we're also looking at moving, based on what we're getting in our counseling department. So if we're utilizing a social worker, a psychologist, counselor, where are we putting everybody to make it the most effective and make the most sense? So kind of just figuring that out also. So.
Sounds like a scheduling nightmare.
Yeah.
It's
It's actually my favorite part. That's my favorite part.
That's
Yeah, the
it's
scheduling
good
is my
stuff.
favorite part.
It's
Yeah.
good, I mean, it's good opportunity, right, to
Yeah.
really tailor it to what you guys need and what the students need and.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do that, and let's see, how the 5th works. I feel like 5th, for 3 years at least with those singles, let's see how it happens, and hasn't been this way in a long time, so let's see if it comes out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the big question mark of how it, you have some experience with having singles in classes, and seeing, and go through the whole cycle and be like, all right, well, maybe this is a new vision of how it can be done. And I think, I'm in full support of just looking at all the options, so that's great. Thank you for doing that work. Appreciate it. Yeah. Feeling staffed properly and everything going forward into the new school year, and
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work with our special education teachers, so we have to sit down and go through schedules, go through IEP needs, go through 504 needs, who needs what,
Yeah.
and then we build our schedule, who's servicing, the forefront is I always try to fulfill with the special ed teachers first. I think that's greater impact for kids, and then we support with the paraprofessionals when those needs can't be met. So really just zoning in on what do we actually need based on support. Do we have too much support, or is there enough of the staff that we have? So we've gone through those lists. So I think we should be okay.
you support it.
Just one question on this student services, what's BCBA?
A BCBA is someone who does behavior.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, I was just thinking it. Yeah. On that, yes, that's a
Yeah.
staffing report, yes.
Yeah, I was just looking, to be announced, but what do we need? I'm very happy to see we really focus in on kids' actual needs here, more than, I guess, if we were in a big school, we would be sitting down saying, should we give this one's IEP, should they be in this room or that room? And we're able to do that and really deliver it to the child what they need.
We try to get there.
Yeah. And also what the teachers need to be successful in their job, you know, and everything, because that's important too. Have them doing well.
Well, I think we talked a little bit, or a lot about this, but you know, the sixth graders now are the first students that were out of school during kindergarten because of COVID, right? So you're probably seeing socialization and other types of things that you never dealt with as challenges before, and you're like navigating through, like, how do we support that, but still.
I think anybody under 6, you see a lot of those, you know, struggles for kids in socialization because they were home, right, with their parents and things like that, so that, you do see that a little bit.
Even during parent-teacher conferences at high school, the teachers were mentioning it.
Yeah.
There's a lot
We
of
see those
schools,
effects, yeah. So true.
And then, and speaking of cohorts, when you use that word, and I can still get a little like, whoa, I don't know, a new word for that, I don't know. But it's, you know, those teachers had to learn other subjects just because
Yes.
based on, I mean, that was the original, like, I think, you know, it probably was Mrs. Roderick that had to learn like all these different things so that to just keep those kids in one classroom, which we appreciated, you know, like, you know, go back to your, you know, old training and things, and that's, I mean, we've had very flexible teachers in that way, and I appreciate their ability to adapt and see what's best for the kids for that, so, it's always a challenge, but we're looking ahead, and obviously we'll be working on a strategic plan and things like that, and a vision for the, you know, we did the vision of a graduate, so, I mean, things like that, like just keeping that in mind of how they're going to best succeed, from little preschoolers all the way to, you know, Monday. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Okay. Any questions, additional questions, or any other topics? Amy? No? Good. Those are great awards assembly today. I know we kind of fit them into the student, like the trimester awards of honors, you know, the honor roll and students trimester and so forth, but this particular one is just a very special one because there's a lot of additional awards being given, and it's a highlight to the school, and it's lovely to see all the families that come and support the kids, and then seeing the kids whoop each other up for, you know, all their successes and things. It's just a really special time, so that was a great celebration today. Okay, and that's it. Okay.
All right, just make an official announcement, the town approved the budget of a 1.99% increase, which is $7,527,016. That was at the end of the meeting, it was interesting. They moved away from a ballot and moved to a voice vote, which received almost unanimous. We did have one naysayer there, but that's impressive. Kudos to the board for putting forth a budget that was so well received by the community. And that was quite different than last year, change in the process, so it worked out well. I have a document I'm going to share with you right now. This is a signed document from Preston related to what we've talked about for sharing services for transportation coordination. So this document was created through the superintendent Preston and myself, outlining what the role and responsibilities of Brendan Merrill would be. To be clear, Brendan would oversee our transportation from a global standpoint, not a daily operations standpoint. We still have work to do on that end for our district. That's not part of it. That's our work, not to work with Preston on. This is a one-year agreement to see how it goes for both sides, so we're not really committing to any futuristic project, but this does save the district $20,000, which has been budgeted accordingly. And we believe it helps working with Preston on this one topic, and then possibly, as we've talked about before, looking at what's potentially next. But for right now, we're happy to do this. The main point of this is what Brendan would be responsible for. And just so you know, Brendan was a driver for Voluntown, lived in Voluntown, knows us, knows our drivers, knows Amy, knows Darlena, knows the system, knows Ann, knows Crystal, he knows these people. And that's a big deal for us. But he would be mostly responsible for routing, looking at all of our routing. And a big part of that is our jointers. And that is creating joint routes where, for example, if we have students going to Marine Magnet School, are we driving past other districts that also have kids going there? And can we put them all on the same bus? That either can one, take revenue from that or reduce expenses from that. It's a very common practice to do jointers when it makes sense. I think I did share from you a while back, as soon as Sterling opted to now send kids to NFA, that opened the door for a potential jointer with Sterling and our students going on the same bus route. I've not solidified that, but that would be one of the things that Brendan will work with Sterling on. Where are there opportunities with Preston? Where are there opportunities with other districts? Every dollar you can save in operations goes directly to students. There's really no gain in spending more on transportation costs. I'd rather spend more on how we support our students. So that's a big deal. Right now, as you know, we are looking to purchase 2 buses. So we've called for a committee meeting of the Transportation Committee to review specs and make sure we are in a good place. We hope to have that done and put out by next week so we can get those buses ordered. The 2 bus companies that Brendan has spoken to both have availability before the school year starts. That'd be huge. But we want the buses to be the right buses. The 4 buses we received last time were missing key components that needed to be on those buses, which cost us a retrofit expense. We'd like to just get that out of the way first. I'll be working on financing with a lease purchase agreement, as we did with these last 4 buses. It should be relatively similar. And we are currently also working on which of the buses we'll be trading in and how much money we think we'll get back on those trades to make it worth it or not. Having a spare bus is still a good idea. Not a spare bus to sit in the lot, but a spare bus that we could use. So we'll be looking at all that as well as the process goes. So this document looks at all of that. It'll be the scheduling, training, oversight of maintenance, but not the maintenance, of course. It's anything that involves state statute requirements of drivers, that would all fall under Brendan. What doesn't, and I think the key difference is the daily operation. So the daily operation, the big deal that includes if there's someone out that day. What happens? Who goes where, who shifts? You've all seen notices when we say we're combining these routes. We want to solidify all of that work, but be able to handle that on site. So again, that's something we're going to work on as a district, not involve Preston. Brendan might be involved as oversight, but not Preston in general. That's the nuts and bolts of it, to be honest. There isn't really anything more tricky to it. But that's kind of where we are.
I have
And,
a question, Scott.
Yeah, sure.
It says routing primarily summer routing?
The majority of the work happens in the summer. Any route that happens across the year.
Okay, so he would make the original
Yes.
routes
It's just that
for the school?
most routing work happens now.
Okay,
Yeah, that's all that meant. It was kind of a communication explaining to the boards
okay,
when that occurs. So it doesn't interfere with the daily operations,
okay.
but you want the routing to be solid, and all that jointure work would happen
Maybe so.
now.
Okay, thank you.
So if like in October, somebody were to, like a student, bless you, a student were to transfer in that required review of a route, would that still be Preston or that would be?
100% revenue.
Okay,
Sure.
okay.
I just have a question about the payment.
Yeah.
It's saying June 30th.
Yeah.
But these are for services for next year.
We upfront multiple payments, so we would upfront this payment out of this year's 2%.
So you don't even have money in the 2% though.
In the money left over this year that we still have, we could use the $30,000 out of that left over. The 2% money that we talked about before, the 98%.
Yeah,
That's where we get the
We
30,000.
have
But
that.
the 2% is based on audited numbers.
Well, we have where we are right now, where we are expenditures, we would include the $30,000 expenditure in that. We're not gonna be moving anything to a non-lapsing account at this time.
Right.
Right. That would
So it
happen
would
July.
just mean you're saying less would go in.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. But what it does, it frees up money next year.
We have it?
Yeah, we have it.
Yes, it frees up money next year, because that money's budgeted out of next year's budget.
So my only question is, have we checked with the auditors about that? Like to make sure that, because a lot of time there's like matching
We have not,
for
so I can
paying,
do that.
like,
Yeah, we have not.
okay.
Yeah.
That would just mean.
It seems, so in looking at what we've done in the past, it seems this is a common practice of Voluntown, to upfront payments for the following year.
For services,
Yeah,
I can identify 5 to 7
I'm sure you could.
different ones that were paid out of last year's budget for this year.
Yeah, we
Auditors
have,
don't always love that.
we have done that, like filled the gas tank, filled the oil tank
all
and
kind
like,
of things like
but
that.
Yeah,
I can see what you're saying where it's like.
Pay the
it's a
attorney,
new-
pay the insurance
it's a new
company,
ser- Yeah,
pay for power
attorney.
school.
You pay the attorney.
I could literally wrap off a whole bunch.
retainer.
If this one is different than that, we can definitely look at that. But if we're,
Or maybe they all should be a certain way. Okay.
this one's being,
In the past.
this one's being done the same way the other ones are being done.
Right.
Just it's a new thing, but not differently handled. Like the purchase services, right? So this is equivalent of a purchase service. So our legal retainer, we pay now.
Yeah, we've always done, when I sign
Yeah.
checks, we always do these purchase things.
Yeah.
We figure ahead with labor.
Again, for me, I guess I might assume, so take what that means, that because it's been done that way for years, that that's the way we've operated.
We had no trouble with the last audit. And then
I guess
That's
we
what
have, I guess the,
I was looking to see if it was ever on the agenda, we haven't seen the last audit.
I guess my question would be, will Brendan be doing any work in June? Will he be starting the road
We
planning?
have a meeting on June 18th.
Yeah, I would say that the services started
Yeah.
in June. That, I think, I mean, I'm not a financial or auditor expert, but if there are services that are gonna be done in June, I would think you could probably pay in June, but
We
I'm
can
not
check.
an accountant.
Wouldn't be opening a very large can of worms to many years of this practice. Which is fine, I don't mind opening that can. Just be prepared what happens when you open the can. I don't know what that'll mean. But it's gonna definitely shape the leftover funds and how the leftover funds have been used year in, year out.
I have one question about the contract itself, and maybe just for you to think about.
Sure.
Do you feel like, you know, this section 2 here where it says the Preston Transportation Supervisor gives you the ability to, I don't see anything referenced in here about like if you are disputing a decision that's made. Like I know it references perform other related work as required by the Voluntown superintendent. But like hypothetically, say, you know, if they're responsible for the hiring of drivers and you have a driver that they're gonna hire that you feel very adamantly is not,
They're responsible to recommend to me a driver.
okay,
That's how any hiring.
okay.
Amy has no.
So it's not
ability-
like they're going and signing
I
like,
just think that Amy has no ability to hire someone.
yeah, no, I just want to
Amy
make
can make a
sure.
recommendation to me, and I have no ability to hire someone.
Yeah,
And
no,
that goes to you
I get
guys.
that.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure you feel like you have
Absolutely.
enough autonomy as this is
I
written.
wrote that section,
Okay,
Yeah.
alright,
I have no issue whatsoever,
perfect.
but thank you for that, that's,
Yeah, I just don't wanna get into a situation where it's like,
he reports directly to me,
okay,
just like anybody else.
okay, perfect, that makes sense.
I mean, he reports to Preston,
Dotted line kind of ish.
but when his decisions about us, obviously Roy, the superintendent of Preston's not gonna make decisions for Voluntown, and I'm not gonna consult Brendan on decisions for
Sure.
Preston. He's
Yep.
Preston's person overseeing our transportation.
No, as long as you're
Tom.
comfortable with it.
Tom works for.
Somewhat similar, yeah,
Griswold,
yeah.
You know,
It's just there's no relationship with Griswold
but
and
about
us, but
Tom.
yes, it's not all
Yeah.
that dissimilar.
But he works full time for Griswold and does this for us.
And others.
Yeah, and others.
So I think, your question, Rachel, is something we'll look into. Just say that practice is. Julie.
did you want a motion to accept this, or did we already do this?
We can make a motion to accept it, yeah.
Motion.
To,
Sign,
Accept the shared
authorize
service.
the signing of the agreement with
A shared service.
shared service with the Preston
Board of Ed.
Board of Ed and Voluntown Board of Education regarding transportation services and transportation, shared services of transportation.
Motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, motion passes.
So that handled numbers bullets 2 and 3. Critical infrastructure projects, just want to give you a quick update. So as you know, part of the budget being approved shifted $85,000 of the town's account that was dedicated solely to the generator. It's now no longer the generator project, it is now the critical infrastructure account. That gives the building committee the ability to approve a critical infrastructure spend. The building committee has been involved in these discussions, and right now we have, remember the drip grant we used already in the library? And we have another about 10,000 and change to apply to the water tank. That's our next capital infrastructure project. So we are going to be looking, again, and this 2% is getting eaten up pretty fast, but we were looking at whether or not we could afford to take that this year and pay it down, or if we could go to the building committee and ask for critical infrastructure funds to go to the water plant. That would not be far, and they're kind of probably expecting that at this point, I think Kate would say.
Sure.
So that's where we're looking, that's the project. There is no other critical infrastructure project on the list. We have priced out the ramp out here, and so far the price we have is a little bit, not that it's a bad price, this is a more expensive project than we were hoping. So while the ramp is not in the best of condition, it's a serviceable ramp, it's not a hazard. So that could be something that is delayed, and the water project being done. But we're still getting more quotes to see if we get a quote that is more workable for us. One of the issues with that area is we're also looking to put an awning over, so people waiting, like if someone's there and they're ringing the bell and no one hears, it's just pouring rain on it. There's nowhere to go, so that's something. It's not very expensive. Like that move we could almost make, that would not be critical infrastructure, of course. So critical infrastructure really defined as real clarity that the school can't operate without. That's critical infrastructure. It's probably the best way to say it.
Fire panel.
Fire panel is high on the list,
Yeah.
but Brian's getting right now, still waiting on quotes. So we see if we're looking at a $50,000, a $100,000, a $300,000 project. We have some,
You'd get all of them.
probably will.
Yeah.
We have some electrical needs that could be classified as critical infrastructure, but I think we'll probably be able to manage it without doing that fund. And that is tying all of our technology into the generator. So if you lose power and all of that goes down, that's problematic potentially. So a question of tying it into the generator so that things reboot immediately. That looks to be about a $7,000 to $8,000 project, which is obviously cheaper than I thought it was going to be, but that'll be a much more significant dollar amount. So that's something else that could happen in July, or as we go through, and Rich remembers the process, we go through the end of your money for the rest of the year. We're kind of in that process now. We're making some final decisions on that as we go. But that's where we are with critical infrastructure. Non-lapsing account, as you know, it's open. We'll be coming back to you in July with a dollar amount that we feel we can put into that account. That's not today, we're not there yet. And that, you wouldn't do it now anyway, you do it. So there's rules on how to use that account, so we'll follow the rules with that. But just so you know, we do plan on putting something in there. I was hoping to put more than we might have, but we're gonna put something in there.
Can I ask you a
Oh, sure,
question?
of course.
Wait.
No.
For the building committee,
Yeah.
do they have a list that they can share of like what their
Yeah, there's
priority projects
Yep.
are and stuff?
Full list we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And then are they the voting authority on the town's set aside money?
They are, the way we crafted this new account, would go to the building committee to the board. So the board would need the building committee's kind of blessing the board would still,
We make the proposal.
the board has to
to the board,
authorize.
you know.
We propose to the building committee gives us thumbs up, then the board would still have to authorize the spend. Yeah. Strategic plan update, real quick. I actually met with former Secretary Cardona. He took the meeting himself, pretty interesting, pretty surprised. I was like, well, Voluntown. And
It's not tiny.
unfortunately, however, we are too little.
Yeah.
Even for his, like, a partner of his or someone else other than him, we're still too little for that. Unless we really want to spend that $40,000 to $60,000 to $75,000, which is not really on the table. So, he did give me the name of someone else. We're going to be speaking to that person as well as one of our other bidders of sorts. And once the screw is over, that's going to be a July project for me to come back to with a recommendation for you on strategic planning. So, but just wanted to tell you that was he was absolutely fantastic. Like, I mean, just so personable and took a call with us, which was pretty cool. So, yeah, it was cool. Felt important for planning.
I saw your kid. Such a rockstar.
So, Amy and I today interviewed a candidate for a school psychologist. So we posted it and we got a candidate within 24 hours. And we're, still leaving it open to get the best we can. But that is a promising scenario. So of course we budgeted that already. And we're very happy moving forward with this idea. It does give Amy the ability to really look at how we support our struggling learners. And not just our struggling learners after they're in referral, which is right now how we do it. And that was part of my budget presentation. The only way we support those kids outside of the teachers doing everything they can do is after the referral, until we get a professional of that caliber into the mix. And those are outsourced people right now. So that's what we're looking at that. And just to reiterate, the award ceremony that Amy runs with her team is great. It was really a nice event. And I'll tell you the thing, I almost jumped in and started talking, Amy, but I didn't do it, is.
Well, first you messed up the bags.
Yeah.
Because the kids knew, she said,
No,
go get them.
I
He's
was
trying to give them the
definitely
bag first.
I definitely was
Just-
bag illiterate.
bad,
no
it was
question.
bad.
No, that was all me, kids were awesome, I was a mess. But when you see.
There might have been a handful.
But yeah, I don't know, so walk the kids down, I don't know. So when you see these, mostly the little kids.
The little ones are so cute.
When they come, they have a hop, a step, a skip, they might jump, they might run.
They're really parkour
they were
off the
no-
bleachers.
Literally, like,
Fourth grade.
down.
Literally jumping
I was
down.
expecting a few cartwheels, there were no cartwheels,
Yeah.
no rolling, I was
did
looking
see-
for something.
Wings, arm wings.
Yeah.
Full flying.
And done on a day where it's like crazy dress day.
It was like wacky, I was
Just
apologizing.
add it to it.
Like,
You gotta
oh,
work on
God,
that maybe next year,
bad.
maybe not the day for wacky dress. Maybe it's the day for suit and tie day.
It could be, yeah.
But great event, so I just want to comment and thank Amy for all that work she does. So that is my report. If there are any other questions, shoot.
A lot going on. That's a good start.
Yeah.
Thank you for that update. All right, so yeah, strategic plan, yeah, we're gonna go with that.
What was that?
The strategic plan will, I guess it flows well into our next discussion
Yeah, it
item of where we are in our point of time now versus what we're gonna look at going forward when we start delving into more strategic planning. Okay. So, moving into old business, that it segues well into our first item, which is the Board of Ed and administrative goals, just for this upcoming year. I know I shared with the board, kind of our latest update and got some wonderful feedback from my peers that had the time to give me feedback, which was great. But just to reiterate, this is very much inspired by some of the items from CAVE that just seem to be more structured and just straightforward in terms of philosophical principles that I believe really are included in our current goals. So we didn't stray too far from that, but it just kind of outlines them more, succinctly, like a better wording. And And then the second page, we kept into 2 pages, but, doing more of like goal objectives for our upcoming year. This is like our working goals. So, this included some of the suggestions that Scott had, and then broke it out by budget, faculty, curriculum, technology, and professional development. So, are you okay?
Yeah, I was making sure he was good.
If you have any suggestions, I think we can move forward with these as our goals for this upcoming year, knowing that we're going to kind of really dive into them in the strategic plan, and that's fine. Are you feeling the same for the administrative goals?
I have talked to Dee Dee about that too, like I feel like we're having a strategic plan anyways. To rewrite them now at this point, I'd rather just focus on once we go through that process. I think it'd just be easier.
I forget when we started, I think we started this in like February, and then it kind of just
Yeah,
blurred it.
I feel like it's just snowballed since you wanted to do strategic, like I just,
Right.
at this point, you might as well just wait.
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable, as long as you're comfortable with where they are at this point, that's fine. I think we looked at those a while back, but
Yeah.
then there was from the last meeting till now, there are a few updates,
Yeah.
but they were just kind of minor. Thank you, Rachel, had a couple updates, and Megan did too, and,
Just a quick question on administrative goals, and not to reference changing, but is it typical that under the administrative goals is where your special education goals would be, or is that typically carved out because it's different like regulation related to that?
Like you mean like,
Like I in this one here, there's not a lot of like any sort of special education or IEP stuff, but I know that's very like heavily regulated, so maybe that's separate. I'm just curious, again, not for changing, but I'm just curious where something like that would fall.
I mean, I think it would have to be broader in a sense, right? Because really the goals.
and for all students, that it's
Right.
inclusive of all.
Yeah, like the top section, students as a full performer.
Yeah, it could be under that piece. I think what we need to see is some honest, remember, this is how we've done our goals.
Yeah,
because always how
well,
we've done
that's, I
them.
think it's
So
more
I
food
think,
for
like,
thought going forward.
I think we need to see like an example.
Yeah, cause I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if it
Where
would
that
be
would
typical that
yeah.
you would have like goals towards like striving to meet the goals of an IEP, like, but we've never seen that before, so I'm just
Right,
curious,
right,
but maybe a better question for when we're doing the strategic.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think this is leaps and bounds better than what we've done
Yeah.
in the past, so it's definitely much more focused.
Yeah, it gives us something to work with, and we can review it.
It's being done and
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
I think that's the work we'll do when we start. I think it'll be fall work that we're working on, just the foundations of the strategic plan, and that's a great, launch point, is kind of where the goals of the board, what are your mission, what's your vision, what's all that stuff, so that'll be, probably top of mind, so, as long as we don't feel like there's anything that's limiting or whatever, I think it's kind of goes with what we're focused on anyway, and same page with us. Okay. So, can we just have a motion to approve the Board of Ed and Administrative goals for 26-27 as presented?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unheard? Motion passes to approve those goals. Yay, roadmap. You always have fun, but, okay. The policy update, moving into policy, the two outstanding ones are 5142, school safety, preparation, response, and after action. I know we've been lingering on this one for a bit. This is the,
The one related to the evaluation.
It's rescinding an old policy, 3516. And adding that wording into this one. Again, they're just trying to
Right, but it was the.
consolidate anything relating to school safety into one policy and regulation and be done type of a thing. That's my understanding of what Keeb is doing with this.
So it's more the, yeah, this. That was really well on. I feel like it's just conglomeration of the things that we've reviewed. Or was this the?
Do you have any input on the regulations, please?
Again, I just approach this so different. This is way too many words. This is just an unusable document as it is. It's a waste of words, it's a waste of pages. It's not how you do things to actually accomplish the task. With that said, the regulations from the state are the regulations from the state, and this is just a mirror of that.
Okay.
So it's really just saying, this is what the state says you need to do, so this is what you do. And then if we wanted to build something around this, we'd build a one-pager describing what our actual tasks are. Because you can't ask anyone to read this and retain whatever's in this mission us of
Well, it's, yeah, it's part of the school preparation plan and like the crisis intervention plan and 4 different plans that we have and
So
have.
that was, I think, the question we were looking at was whether or not this was required, right? It's not.
So a regulation is not a requirement. But with
Because
that
we have to follow the
said,
regulation regardless if we have a policy, we have to follow the regulation.
in this particular case, because it's of the topic it is, I usually just recommend approving what comes from the governing body. Unless they're asking you to make decisions about certain elements, like do you want to take this path or this path? This doesn't really have those questions, it's just kind of outlining the regulations you would do to meet these legal requirements. So because of that, I generally don't ask boards to go back and start changing language in these documents, because we might make a change that has a negative impact that we don't foresee. Because the writers of this are the lawyers who've read through the regulations, they've read through the state mandates, and they've said, this is what you do to meet that. How we then implement our safety procedures here would be a different document altogether.
Yeah, I think Appendix A gets me because it's just all about sporting events and, you know, how you frame it from a, like, this is what you would do in like a crisis at these specific, you know, events. And I'm like, we already have that in our plan. And I don't need to have like these bullet points to tell us that it's, you know, this is a nice to have piece. So, I mean, I think that's the first, you know, the regulation of the students and this update, I think is fine, because that actually relates to the regulation, but the appendix is the part that I'm less comfortable with.
I noticed something in this that talks about staff training in CPR. I don't think all our people are trained in CPR, are they?
No,
It depends, so like our preschool staff is trained, because that's per
CPR?
guidelines, yeah, so, and our PE
Right.
teacher, and he actually does the training, and nurse, obviously, so there's sporadically coaches within our building that are also trained, so there's probably
I
about.
mean, some powers that would get changed based on.
Mhm.
numbers
Oh, we
too,
do,
so-
yeah, we do Paris too, yeah, so, yeah, there's a handful of, probably at least 10 people.
Kind of how it's worded, it sounds like everybody has to be.
Yeah.
There's no requirement for everyone to do
No.
CPR training.
Where is that one?
On page whatever, 5142B, students under the employment of bottom of what I had seen that
Appendix B.
the other day. That's what we have to be training for and regular practice of emergency procedures by students and staff.
So if we're required to have the policy, can we have the policy without the appendices?
Oh, I was. Yeah, I'm saying we do regulation, but just not really.
Yeah, I'd rather not have the policy if we don't have to have it, because it's like, why?
You mean the regulation?
You gotta have a policy.
We have to have the regulation, well, we have the regulation, it's a state regulation.
Well, you have, so,
Policy.
you have a policy.
Yeah, this is mandated.
Correct, right, so if the policy is required, but the appendices are not,
I would wanna just make sure I don't have my normal mistakes I make with Jersey and Connecticut. In New Jersey.
Policy, we have a policy anyway for this, so I'm
Policy
fine
you
with
have
that.
to have. Maybe you know, Dee Dee, but in my old universe, there's no requirement, no mandated regulation on any particular policy.
Right.
But maybe that's different in Connecticut, because I keep finding things are different in ways I don't expect.
I don't believe regulations are
Mandated.
mandated. I mean, they're not listed on, like, there's a whole list of CABES, required policies, recommended ones.
Right.
And then there's some that aren't even on that, either of those lists, but
You
they,
don't see
I don't
there's
see
no section for
regulations.
Mandated regulations.
Not that I'm
But
familiar
a
with.
policy could mandate that you have a regulation. So what that means is a policy, so you're the policy-making body. You hire somebody to make sure that the policies are met. And those are called the regulations. Sometimes boards adopt regulations, sometimes they don't. It's my experience, but again, maybe it's different here.
She's wondering about appendixes.
well, because like in your
It's not about the
appendix,
regulation
to
itself.
me, like the appendix
Right.
gets into a lot of stuff that's not actually part of the regulation.
Okay, that part, you definitely do not need to have appendixes in a,
Yeah, cause I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I
high
was-
school
that's
agreed
what-
to
you're talking about the
keep
appendix,
concrete
not the
and common.
regulation?
That's what she was asking.
Okay.
See, like, to me, well, I mean, I'd rather not have the policy, but like, if we have to have a policy, I don't think we have to have the appendix, cause it's like, you know, preschool to grade 2, keep it concrete and common, something scary happens around summer, like, and then you find out that your first grade teacher didn't go in that, and now you have a policy that they violated the policy.
Just, we gotta use, the language is not that. You have a policy. A regulation is, if someone did something different that was in a regulation, it's not a violation of a policy per se,
Mhm.
unless it is.
Which this would make it.
It's probably a little gray, but if you remove this from it, you're not doing any harm. And if you
Correct.
are, I will bring it back to the group to put
Yeah.
back in.
That's my, like,
I would agree to,
we
the
just
stuff
have
in this
what we
thing,
need to have.
reading through this, I was turned off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That's
So we'll
not-
just
not
have
so
what we
easy.
need to.
So we're amending by removing the appendixes out of the regulation.
I just don't put it in the motion, so, but yeah, okay.
And to your point, Scott, you want teachers to handle it a certain way, you give them a one pager of,
Yeah, that's
here,
a
this is
That's
how
what
you.
standard operating procedure, yeah.
You, yeah, create an SOP on what
Correct.
this looks like.
Yep.
And that's helpful for someone.
Yes, not
Here's what
25
this
pages
policy
of
actually
appendices.
looks like in the
Yeah.
classroom. That's helpful.
I can say in the hospital, we have huge fire policies, but each floor has a thing of what they gotta do.
Yeah, they have a little, probably a
You know,
lab.
and what you do as the individual walking into an area with a fire, what their steps are.
This would be a good
We
AI,
prohibit anyone
This would be a
from
good
walking
AI
through the fire
test.
here.
give me a one-page document on this.
Fire with a-
Co-pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
No children in the fire.
Okay. Call the 911.
Okay,
Well,
all right, so I'm gonna formulate something, we can discuss it too.
I was at Lawrence when the transformer blew up and we had 20-foot flames outside the window.
So
It
we're
was like nothing less.
moving,
So we just, we need a motion, so we do need to rescind one though, yeah, so we're rescinding 3516, which was an existing one, safe and secure school facilities, to adopt this
Third.
current reading of the regulation,
And policy.
and
The policy's
policy 5142, removing the appendix that's included
Yeah.
in that regulation.
I think there's, it's more than one.
The appendices. Any appendix in that regulation is not to be included.
Appendicitis done.
Yeah, on school safety and
Appendectomy.
approve it as.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None heard. Motion passes. Thank you for spending a little extra time on that one, because it is, every time I look at it, I'm like, oh my god. I know it's doing our thing, and I feel good because I know we do have a CIT group, we do have all have this plan group. They look at these documents, it's just unfortunate that year over year they get changed all the time, so you almost have to do that work to double back and make sure that it's all inclusive, and that this inside plan mirrors kind of what the policy says, so it's it's good work, but we have all these changes all the time, so. I know it's not getting lost on anyway. Thank you. Okay, so then there is the digital recording and media of student staff, that's a second reading, 1112, spot 6. I think there was one edit we looked at, just after a quick discussion last meeting. It was related to personal media.
Yeah, it was the specifying needs to be deleted from the cloud, and then we removed that one that said that teacher could not use video recording to record student disciplinary.
Right.
You ready? So I'll make a motion to approve that as it has been amended.
I'll second it.
It was amended, yep.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes to adopt the second reading of. What did I call that? What one was it?
Digital recording of students.
Yeah.
1112, 1112,
6.
thank you. Oy.
Too many numbers.
I know. Okay, so we are back to the agenda, if I can find it through my roll call. More policies, as we're going into new business, though, right?
And these ones have to go to second reading anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
And then this is just the change for the transitional waiver and to change it from being 5 as of January to 5 of September.
So 5 September 1, and so what does,
Video time, so.
yeah, they did, what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Instead of just doing a hard and fast, they then scrambled all this nonsense about September 1st, right? So then left it to us, and all these districts have to decide these waivers, all this stuff. But as I'm reading it, is that they're no longer after this year
It was only through 27.
allowing the waiver, right? So that's how I'm interpreting
Which
this.
is intended to be transitional.
Which would make sense because we've already done transitional waiver, so we do have to adopt that piece of it through sunset of what that says.
Right.
And then it would be September 1, so 27, 28, by September 1, 55.
Yeah.
I mean, others, we're like one of the last states to do this.
Waivers are horrible.
They are horrible.
They're horrible.
Horrible.
This is the one number that is non-changeable.
Yeah.
Whatever the date is the date. If your child's
Exactly.
one day, they're 1 day too young, then they're 1 day too young. Gotta be a cutoff.
And so there will be a cutoff 2027, that's it. And the state should have done that from the get-go,
Yeah.
given people time to plan. And said, by this, and it was a horrible rollout and plan, so unfortunately left a lot of people with these little kids in this weird limbo. But we followed suit with our counterparts, we did that for this year, the transitional, and then we should set the date. Well, the date is set, we need to set the transitional waiver, and then it'll be over, there'll be no more waivers.
Otherwise, we're pretty comfortable with the language, though. I mean, we're not gonna approve it, but just
Yeah.
as a first sniff.
It's pretty standard.
Okay, so we will move along with that one as the first reading, and then, this is the enrollment, same thing, it's early, so figure
I'll just
out.
add a piece about residency, just because Amy and I had a conversation about it today. So just the operable term in residency is actually domicile, which means where you lay your head. So it's not where you own a house, it's not where someone resides, it's where this child, not the adult, the child lays their head 50%, more than 50% of the time. So what we get into is you get, maybe split families where someone has a child here and someone has a child here. Domicile is the legal precedent surrounding residency. So that could come up. And there's a process for what happens if we find that a child is not residing here, residing again meaning domicile. And
Do you feel that this, the way it's written, it's hurting us or helping
no,
us?
it's just the law. And, it's just, it doesn't hurt or help us, it's just, I'm just explaining, just because it came up today between Amy and I, that operable term of domicile, not residency. Because people always use the term, well, I have a residence there, or I reside there. Reside means for this purpose where the child lays their head, period.
So what if you have,
Split custody.
50-50 custody and they spend a week here and they
I'll
go?
explain that.
Okay.
So a court will also determine where they domicile. So if you have a court situation where the court has already mandated that the primary resident, even though it's split custody, there's still going to be a primary as it pertains to school, right? A good lawyer will make sure the school issue is addressed. And then at that point, we follow the custody chain of paper.
Okay.
So that doesn't become for Amy or I to start
Yeah.
overruling the judge.
Right, okay, thank
But
you.
it's usually those situations where maybe I rent a house, but I own a house, or I'm trying to get my kid here because my child's in some kind of special X, I want them to play basketball on that team. It's when someone is purposely trying to do something that this comes to play. It's usually not related to a legitimate legal situation. That usually is spelled out. So there's a lot of non-legitimate legal ones that exist all over the universe, right? That people do,
Oh,
so
yes.
it's just something to.
I think we've had in the past, people who are building here, wanting to move the kid in, but they're not living here yet.
Well, that's funny, because that's an issue that comes up. I'd have to read all your policy on that particular part to see if that is how it works. So we stopped in the last session allowing building to be a residence until you move there, because people were buying property.
Sitting on it.
Yeah,
For 10
it
years.
takes 3 years, 5 years before they do anything, but they proved everything but domicile,
I was gonna
which
say,
is why
I
it's
think
domicile.
in the past, we bought people who are actually building.
That's not, you
I
can,
may
a
be
board
wrong.
can choose to allow.
I may be wrong.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah, I feel like
a
the
board,
last time it
you're not in
came up,
violation by choosing to allow.
Huh?
I feel like the
It was
last
a
time it
while
came up,
ago.
we didn't,
You know, when it came up.
because to your point, it was, they need to be here, like,
Yeah.
not just.
The legal, again, legal is domicile, the legal part, but a board can still create policy that, expands that, right? You're not in violation of anything if you said that. No, if someone buys property here and they're gonna be moving here and they start to build, you can outline that in a policy, and that could become your policy, that we allow that. You can also say, if they don't actually move in
Yeah.
this
Their
time,
occupancy.
that's revoked. You can.
I think
you
it's
can do
always
it.
just been really something that we try to veer away from because of the high school tuition thing.
That's
It's not absorbed, if we had a high school where it's one kid is going into a classroom with 19 kids and it's no additional versus.
It is the high school issue, is your issue.
Correct,
Right,
exactly, so
100%.
we've always been skittish because of that.
If you get a parent that makes a claim
Yeah.
for their out-of-district placement, now you're on the hook for a non-resident.
Yeah.
Then once you have to start fighting those battles, it becomes legal, you're paying legal expenses, so the best thing you can do is don't accept enrollment if they haven't proven what you need them to prove, yeah.
Okay. Fascinating, thank you for that insight. Nuggets.
Who's Amy?
Okay, so those are hand-in-hand policies, we will revisit that, but it looks like fairly light lifting. Moving on to personnel, we have a few updates. We'll need a motion to approve and accept the following. Andrea Kelly as the athletic director for 26-27, Amanda Gould as the music director for 26-27. Carolyn Stands as the summer bus monitor this summer, and Nicole Grillo's resignation as a bus driver. So, that was a letter we received, and I acknowledge Nicole's time here and the care with which she gave our kids and always kept them safe and helped them go to sports games and cheer them on, and it's not just driving a bus, it's a lifestyle. And so with regrets, we will, and appreciation, we'll accept the resignation letter. That motion for those 4 items.
I make the motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None heard. Motion passes. Alright. Summer Board of Ed meetings.
Was July 11th a conflict for people? I think was discussed, or the August.
Oh, August was, I know, I'm gonna be away during that.
It's just to discuss that.
Yeah.
You can leave them on for now, you don't have to, right? I'm nervous.
I think they do motions if they're gonna change, that's all.
I don't think I would go about changing the second board meeting, because sometimes you actually cancel that board meeting, so I would wait until you determine what you need. If you don't need the board meeting, you just make a motion, you can cancel the board meeting, right? Cancel the board meeting.
Yeah, it's easier to cancel it than stop trying to add it back in.
They're both, you know, it's just.
Is that
Just
date?
first, July, if everyone looks at their calendar for July,
Usually
what
it's
should
an
you see
issue.
now? It's the 9th.
Yes.
Sorry.
And then August is the 13th. Do you have any plans, summer plans?
The 9th, I will not be here at the 9th.
I will not be here, I'll be traveling for work.
Okay. Or we'll, it's good to collect the collective information, so we'll make a decision on those 2 meetings, based on feedback. Okay? And then the last item for new business is the end of year evaluations. We've been busy forming forms and checkpoints and ratings, but they're included in your packet. I think we are pretty, I think we're aligned on form for both. So you have yours for both the self-eval and superintendent. Have you seen the superintendent one? Any comments?
I feel like
A lot of
I've read
words.
these all so many times that I can't even remember what I.
I know, this one was,
So many words, but so many less words. The last one.
That's what.
A lot more. Yes, that's.
this one was,
This is like less than half of what you.
yeah, we're down to 2, we're down
The
to,
one from New Jersey was called.
yeah, this is 3 pages, you know. But I think when we originally made the draft, and again, this will go to a strategic plan, but it was to take our current goals, which were not the goals that we now approved, but balance of it, make sure that those concepts were in these growth and student, like TCAPE's thing that you want, growth and student achievement, education leadership, core principles, and then you plug in our actual philosophy in there, and then how did we feel we did, aligning to that. So, and obviously this is your first year, and it's not gonna be, could be, above and beyond, and then there's plenty of extra comments for all the ones that we do, so.
Whatever you guys do.
The more words. All the words.
All the words.
I don't care what format they've used for me for 16 years, I'm not gonna start there. Format's format, whatever format you like, Enjoy.
If you'd like to send me feedback personally, that's fine, or you wanna write on that and give it to me, you know,
Wait for
at your
that.
leisure.
This is approving the form.
This is approving the form.
So are you making a motion to approve the form tonight or not?
It's new business, does it have to go to a second or no?
You've already had it as, this is
No,
like the
this is just,
second or
yeah,
third.
we've already looked at
Yeah.
it since the,
If you're still looking for feedback, we just remove it from the agenda. No, not feedback
I was gonna say,
About-
form of.
about your superintendent, this is feedback.
about form.
The form,
Yes.
correct,
Yeah, this is just, we like this form.
correct.
Yes,
I guess.
the motion that we're
Motion.
like, motion that we've approved the
Motion.
forms.
It's June, so I'm good with them.
Yeah. It's
And
like,
if we wanna revise them next year, I don't see why we couldn't.
yeah,
That's how we do it every year.
Yeah.
And this is a more seismic change from our
Yeah.
previous version, so you're welcome. It's fine,
Yes.
but it's still a work in progress,
It
so
is.
that's
It's
fine.
a
I
work
think
in
for now, at this point in time, when we're looking at the year ahead, going July 1, I think it's appropriate that we do something. Just why we crunch it together.
There's a motion for all three of them.
So, yeah, oh, but even the, we, I think,
What,
I guess my question is, why is there a motion to approve an evaluation form for the attorney? Isn't that already
It
an
is-
approved thing?
We don't have one yet. There's one that needs to be generated. It's just in our policy that the board will evaluate the school attorney annually.
Is that a, I know it's a policy.
Yeah,
Is that a policy, a mandated policy?
I'd have to
No.
look at the list.
Can you look at that?
Sure,
And see if it's a
sure.
mandated policy?
Yeah.
Because that's.
Right.
If not a mandated policy.
Right.
I think
Or you
that
guys will
signed
need to
form-
amend the policy, or
Yeah, like a
again,
written form that's
it's-
never been something, yeah, so I think.
Right.
Have you ever done it?
no, I've
No.
never seen it.
No, but also I would think you would just fire
There
your
was-
attorney.
I can't come up with a rationale
Right.
for why you'd have a policy.
That's why it was
to create an
just
evaluation
written.
form for the
I mean,
attorney.
an audible thing.
So I'm just saying, if it's
yep,
not,
we can research the
just
policy.
throw that one off tonight
Yep.
and say, if
Yep.
it's mandated, then fine, I guess.
Right,
If Connecticut is mandating that the Board of
I don't
Education
know, I'll look.
And that
evaluate
goes
the
to-
attorney,
That's fine.
okay.
So the
So
two
a
forms.
motion to approve the revised Board of Ed evaluation form and the revised superintendent evaluation form.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard, motion passes.
All right.
And we'll look into the school attorney. Alright, so that is it for new business. We will, just in terms of just what we need to do, so we're TBD on the next board meeting. We did have it's just a kind of a point of business thing, but Rachel was asking about a list of kind of a calendar for the board. And I know we've done that in the past and it kind of was lost in it, but I think it is helpful for everybody kind of to be like, oh, we're in the June, the May, June timeframe when we're doing board of ed goals and like, oh, contracts again and blah, blah, blah. So it's where, budget time starts here and XYZ, November. A loose one is helpful, so I like the recommendation to bring that back, so if we can, we'll work on that for the next
Okay.
period.
So you want it like an annual list of items per month? I do have that document already. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we can put that first.
Yeah, just send it to me and I'll see, I'll
Yep,
see if if I recall, that's kind of the format we'd like and.
Yep.
Send it to you too to see if it makes sense. Okay, great. So at this point, we need a motion to move into executive session, inviting the superintendent Scott Better for the purpose of discussion of personnel and the superintendent's evaluation per CT State Statute 1-206A.
Motion.
All in favor? Sorry, second. Thank you. All in favor, aye. And opposed, motion passes.
And Dee, no action expected after the meeting, so you can
all right.
close
and-
up shop.